Capstone Games has become a publisher we like to keep an eye on for their releases. They release a nice variety of games. There's like Tangram City that we've covered, that's kind of smaller, lighter, quicker. There's bigger ones that are a little bit longer, like Catherine, one of my favorites. So we always like to keep an eye on what they got. So when they got in Stevens, that looked really cool, had some good mechanisms, had some nice components, we decided to take advantage of a discounted purchase of the game to buy it, and now we are going to review it. Normally, this is where I'd say stick around after the break to see how it plays. However, I did not do that this time. Instead, you can check out the solo play that's linked right above if you want to see how it plays. Instead, after the break, you are going to hear how we think it go. Alright, so let us get into how we think Stevens goes. We are, as always, going to start off with Inside the Box. So, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I can do it quickly.
Alright.
At least my opinion. I thought the components were nice.
Your opinion of quickly or your opinion of the game?
My opinion of the components.
Okay, alright.
I thought the components were really nice. They had the linen cards. Those were nice quality. I thought so.
They shuffled well.
Yeah. They are little. They're the little linen cards, but lots of cubes. They have the clear cubes. They've got lots of the wooden cubes. A variety of colors. So those were nice. And an abundance of cards. Lots and lots of cards. I thought the board,
yep,
nice quality.
It's got a double layered player board, so that way it can hold the discs and all of that on there pretty nicely.
Yeah, player boards, the main board. Yeah.
Yep. The player boards did display the information well. It made sure to clearly identify things. I like that when you had to play with one disc to unlock the others, it had the little vines going to it, so that was easily to decipher.
The metrical.
Thematic?
Thank you. Yeah, thematic. Yeah, I'm just making up my own words.
Fairly thematic. The discs also are nice. I like that they have the printing on them so you know where they are. I will say it does make setup a little bit more tedious, though, because you're kind of flipping over the discs to see which ones go where at that time. Which ones were blank. Yeah, which ones were blank. I mean, I guess you could just use the blank side on it. But then where's the fun in that? But that was the one thing that can kind of make setting up a little fiddly. Rulebook itself, it explains everything well. It walked me through the game nice. It had good examples. It explained everything easily. It deciphered everything and all of that. The board, like she said, does work well. The only issue we had is that the numbers where you have to replenish the cubes were pretty small. Like, she's got old eyes, but even me kind of looking at them, it's super tiny print. So if you have a hard time seeing it, it's going to be a hard time seeing those numbers down there.
Grab a magnifying glass. Or your phone.
And then the player aid tiles didn't seem that useful. Like, they kind of depicted the actions, but the only one that was mostly useful was the one about doing the reset. But, like, they brought tiles with, like, here, you can take a disc or take a cube. So, like, those kind of just felt like maybe they filled up space on the punch board or something. I think we abandoned those, like, 5 minutes into our first game. We're like, never mind.
Yeah, only kept the refresh part.
And then the profession cards didn't necessarily feel intuitive on which side they went. Like, at first we thought we had them on the wrong side because we thought, like, the person picture went under the board when it's not. It was the disc ones were closer and it spread out that way. So it kind of it seemed like it should have been the other way to me. Just, I don't know why, it just kind of did.
Yeah, it felt like it should have just tucked under the board where it does, or instead of just laying on the side of the board like it did.
But otherwise, if that is all you have for Inside the Box, let's go ahead and move on to the two-player experience. So the big difference in the two-player experience is in that refresh phase. Basically, how many cubes get put in is, I believe, it starts off, so the game starts with 4, then in the refresh phase for a two-player, it's 2, 2, 2, then it goes down to 1 quicker than it does in other player counts. So to me, that's the main big difference in the refresh phase. So I'll let you cover what you think of the two-player experience before I kind of say what I think might be different if we played multi.
I did like that the rules were clear and simple. It seemed to have a nice flow to it. It wasn't a lot of, do this, do this, do this, and this, and this, and then wait on the other the other person, and that. So nice flow. You put the card, disc, this, that. So that was nice. You were able to refresh the professions cards easily once you got your disc out to do that. And you could go recycle through those cards. That's the one issue that I always seem to find with like 2-player cards is that there's so many cards that you don't really get a chance to go through quite a few. So it's that was nice that we were able to refresh the professions easily and put out the new ones. It was, I did find that it was a little difficult to raise the forest and the sea up there. It was easy to go down on that, but it was a little harder, it seemed, to go up on them. And then sometimes it was a little harder because there were only the 2, so you weren't having as many of the cubes put out on the top.
Yeah.
So it was a little harder to acquire more of the cubes that were needed to fulfill the contract.
So for me, kind of with that about the whole having a harder time getting the cubes, and then when you're taking the cubes, you're triggering the professions. So the professions aren't necessarily triggering as much because they're not getting selected as much. Then it does seem like one player, especially if they make it their focus, can run away with being the master workers. That seemed to constantly happen in our games, is that I would be always the one step ahead of getting the workers out, which means she was constantly being the apprentice. So that is typically how I'd make up any form of ground that she would gain on the point track, is I would be a master worker. And then so that kind of let me almost in essence run away with the game. So I don't know if that would be as present in multiplayers because you would have more people kind of
putting
them out and going after them. But the advantage of the 2-player game in regards to that is as long as a card has 2 spots, you're always going to have access to being able to do it because no one is going to take it on you. So if I have access to that as a master worker, she will be able to put a worker on there. Whereas if we were playing multiplayer or with 3 or 4 players, someone else might take that before she has an option, and then we're having this special power and she doesn't. So that is one of the benefits of a 2-player game, is that you do have access to those. And then even though there aren't as many cubes put out, you do have access more to them. The board state isn't going to change as much from player to player because you're not going to have 2 or 3 players going, but before you go again, that might completely wipe out one of the places you want it to go. So it's hard to get the cubes, but it could be harder with more players. But so let's go into gameplay. I think you covered a lot of that with the 2-player experience, so I'm just going to touch on just a few things. It's one of those games where it seems simple because it's literally take some cubes or put out a disc. But that leads to the complexity of the game where you are having to manage your money and your influence to be able to afford to put out those discs or to get those contracts or investments. Or when you do take the cubes, running that profession, trying to get that engine built in there. Like I know in my solo play, I had it where when I ran the one thing, I got a coin, and I was able to spend that coin for 3 influence. So basically by running this, I knew I can get 3 influence. So trying to get those professions lined up. I will say, because of the way we play, we never had an issue with the whole pyramid aspect of putting out the professions because we always unlocked the one that you can do it even from the get-go. That was always one of the first discs that we put out, was we don't want to have that restriction. Even though we weren't able to fill those factories right away, we still made sure we got those people up there.
Yep. For the future. For any future round.
Because especially seeing as those master workers up there are worth more points, you want to be able to build up there quicker and faster for point-wise as well. The contracts to me did kind of seem swingy at times, and there's definitely an element of luck of the draw on there, because with the contracts you're needing certain symbols, and some of them have 3. Like if you get a 3 in the symbol that you need, and that's what got dealt after the player grabbed some, well then you just made out like a bandit. So there definitely did seem like some luck of the draw there.
Yeah, I know there were a couple of games that we played where the contracts, they were all the same symbol.
Like all crowns or.
And that was one of my issues was unlike the professions where you could wipe it out and refill it. There's a disc that you can refill, or you can wipe out the top card, and then refill it. So you weren't really getting that.
Wasn't churning as much as some of the professions. Yeah. So, and then eventually you can possibly buy 2 if you have the resources. That can help kind of whittle through them. But like I said, luck of the draw. And then even when it came to the investments, is sometimes someone might get lucky and get the good investment card that doesn't have that bad of a penalty in it.
Yeah.
So it did seem a little bit more of luck of the draw than I kind of would have liked to for the investments and contracts. But overall, I don't think it swung it too much. Because I think even the games where I did a decent amount of contracts over you, I think I only beat you by like 3 or 4 points when it came to the contracts. You were still kind of able to line them up well. So
yeah, I was able to get a lot of the
2s and 3s.
Well, the ones that were the points, as opposed to that was.
Oh, the investments. Yeah, you have the investments. Points.
I kept getting the investment points. He kept getting the cubes. So it kind of evened itself out, kind of, sort of.
So, but like I said, if you have nothing else for gameplay,
yeah, I think that's it.
All right, so overall, I think I will say mine, and then I will let you go with your overall.
Sounds good.
So my overalls, I enjoyed the simplicity of just the 2 actions on your turn, trying to figure out which one is best and when you're able to do it based on your coinage, on your reputation, how to get stuff out when you need to, and then kind of get, like I said, get that engine of professions. It can feel tight, especially in the beginning. It feels like that refresh happens super quick for those first couple of rounds until you are able to build up those investments. But that's the thing, if you can't build up those investments, then you're going to start churning through those clear cubes quick, so you are going to start triggering refreshes, and it's going to feel short and very unsatisfying. But overall, I think it's a fun puzzle that I'm able to do. Even though I am able to do everything most games where there's not much variety in it in that respects, I think I would still give it say it go good, a 7. I am usually willing to play it because of the puzzly aspect to it.
And I think you pretty much covered what I had. Enjoyed playing it. Definitely the ability, or you're able to play the turns relatively quickly. So there's not a whole lot of downtime on the other players while they're waiting. And then the running of the powers of the discs.
And that's one of the things where it kind of cuts down the downtime is you could have stuff that triggers based on if they run a profession, you might have discs, so you are still involved in those downtime.
Right. And then, like you said, with the cons, is the cubes were really tight at the beginning. And then the not refreshing the contracts or the investments easily in the 2-player game. I think that's about my only issue, I guess, with it. My overall. And I would say, let's see. I enjoyed playing it, so I'm going to go with an 8. I enjoyed playing it, and I would suggest playing it. So that's what I'm going to go with. You had a 7?
Yep.
I had an 8, so split the difference.
I will say I am a little, how do I say, harder to please.
Pickier?
But I like more of the variety. Like I said, the reason this is a 7 for me instead of an 8 is because the plays we've had, I've gotten almost all my discs out. I've at least gotten the discs out that I really cared about. I think I've gotten almost all of the scoring discs out. Like, there isn't much that I haven't felt like I've done after playing it. So to me, it'd be a little harder to keep playing it with that if it's like, all right, well, I've basically done everything I want to do. So that's the reason for me personally. It's a 7, not an 8.
You also keep winning, so there's nothing for you to strive for.
So, like I said, that to me. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just that's my personal preferences. I like having that variety. I like being able to discover something new in a game, and I just didn't feel like that was present for me in this one. That's why. But I am still usually willing to play it. So.
And see, I liked it because it was it's
a thinky game without the rules overhead.
Yeah, because I have a hard time sometimes wrapping my head around some of the trickier rules.
Or forgetting a rule, and there's really no rules
Yeah.
that are that forgettable in this game because they are so quick and easy.
Right.
All right, so that is how we think Stevens go. Now, if I could please get you to head down below and hit like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell. Also down there, you can go ahead and help support the channel in one of 3 ways. You can join our Patreon, you can hit up our Ko-fi for a one-time donation, or you can join this channel with the join button down below, and that will give you early access to videos and even some member-exclusive videos that we do produce. So, until next time,
I'm the bride,
I'm the groom
and here's looking at you.
through a window.